Azure Functions can easily connect with so many services in Azure like Blob Storage, Redis, your app service, or it can be other services as well. Let's say Cosmos DB and other, right? But actually, when you face any build error, right? So solving that is really a complex issue and a challenging task, right? So I am going to discuss especially how you troubleshoot the build error when there is no explicit code issue, how you can solve that, especially in the virtual network. This session is part of Azure Functions with Python for Beginner series. So please check out the playlist link in the description for better understanding. So I will be focusing, right, how we can solve the build errors common where we have some network challenges, okay, in the VNet. So during Azure Functions deployment, outbound access is blocked. You must have realized these things in the virtual network. An error comes, the HTTP request to retrieve the SDK available to download from OxyCDN is failed. So what does it mean, right? And from where you can check all these logs, right? So checking logs from the Azure portal, I can show you right now. If you see, this is the same function app, which is based on app service plan, right, that we have used so far in our all the sessions, right? But how you can check, right, your logs, I have already discussed previously as well with the kudu session, but I'm just explaining you. And this log section do you already get when you choose the app service plan. If you go to the log part, okay, you see the all the log entries will be downloaded here, and you can see any of the deployment logs, right? Right now I have all the successful one, but I'm showing how you can see the logs where you can see the basic error detail. Otherwise, kudu is the best place for the troubleshooting, and the link is given in the description of this video. Okay, so if you want to see the oxy build logs, you can click on show logs and you will definitely see all the logs, right? If you just scroll down, so you have to scroll down and you will see all the logs of your server, okay, whatever is happening while it is building. So right now there is no issue with us, right? But if you see that error, right, in your CLI logs or in your console, then what you need to do, that I am going to discuss now. Let's go back to the presentation. So we discussed about the SDK availability but failed to download, right? So what does it mean? Correct. So during Azure function deployment, some services explicitly allowed in the virtual network, then only your build will be successful. Otherwise, we will see this error. HTTP request to retrieve SDK available to download from OxyCDN is failed. So it means your app service or your function app, which is based on app service, can't reach to the Oxy build service, which is hosted on oxy-cdn.microsoft.io. So it fails to build or install the Python runtime. And function app hosted, you can consider in your restricted environment, or you can see in the virtual network, or you are using a private app service plan. So this service is required actually when you are using a remote build, or you are using the remote build parameter true via CLI, or having a Oxy auto build enable in your continuous integration and continuous deployment pipeline. By default in your VNet, all the outbound access is blocked for the public URLs, okay, in the VNet. So to solve this issue, key deployment and runtime services must be allowed. Now you must be thinking, what are those, right? So I'm displaying here, and without these, deployment will fail or result in runtime error. So we have to allow these services, okay, to accessible from your Azure functions. Only then your build will be successful. And these are scm.azurewebsites.net, source control management, oxy-cdn.microsoft.io, and github.com. Why GitHub? I'm considering the scenario if you are using the GitHub Actions. When I am saying GitHub Actions, so you might be using the GitHub repositories. Okay, so that's why GitHub is required, and GitHub runner access is also required. Okay, so that will be covered under github.com and aka.ms. So all these four are required. Now you must be thinking, it's good to have the knowledge. We have to, what domains we have to whitelist. But what are the meaning of each of these, right? So I'm explaining, right, why these domains are needed. So here I have a clear explanation for you on these domains so you can share with your network or security admin when you are requesting access. So very first one, the SCM Azure websites, right? Source control management. It's a kudu service which is available in Azure, and this is the deployment engine for Azure App Service. Why Azure App Service? Because our function is based on the Azure App Service plan. So zip deploy, logging, build process are all handled through the SCM endpoint. And if blocked, you can't deploy the AZ function app source config kind of deployment, and logs will be available. Okay, log wouldn't be available. Second, Oxy CDN Microsoft.io. So this is for Oxy build system CDN. What does it mean? Azure uses Oxy to detect, build, and install all appropriate runtime, for example, Python, Node, or other, right, during the deployment. The SDKs and platform tools are downloaded from the CDN. So without access, Oxy build will fail. Now the third one, github.com, it is a basically build dependencies here. Some Oxy build or tools scripts, including for Python function, may fetch open source packages or tools from GitHub, and blocking it can cause runtime or build failures. So we have to allow this one as well. And the last one, aks.ms. This is actually a Microsoft short links. So Azure and Oxy frequently uses aka.ms short links for downloading tools, scripts, and redirecting to install endpoints. These often resolve to Azure Storage, GitHub, and any other Microsoft endpoints. So now we know which packages, which domains we have to allow, and what is the meaning of these, each one of them. Correct. Now I also want to show you, we have discussed one error, correct? When access to Oxy is blocked, right? So we generally get this error, HTTP request to retrieve the SDK available to download from this URL is failed. But what happened when scm.azurewebsite.net is blocked? So it will deployment hangs, or it will return deployment end file endpoint responded with status code 403 or timeout. Okay, so this is also good to have. One more important thing, if your Azure function is based on app service, then we know what we need to do, right? But there is Azure app service in the virtual network. This is a possibility, right? You're using app service and which is based on React.js. So what you will do, the actions for the outbound access are almost same. We have to enable all these of them. Okay, the aka, GitHub, Oxy CDN, and SCM Azure websites. Okay, the description, the purpose is almost same. It is just that we are using the React app for the Azure app service because it needs to install all the required packages. Okay, so let's move ahead. Finally, so when you request for your network admin, you can share with your domain, right? For VNet integrated app service hosting, React app, or it's a function app that you are using zip or Oxy build, we must allow scm.azurewebsite.net for deployment engine. It is mandatory. Oxy CD and Microsoft.io. This downloads the Node.js, Python, SDK build tools if build is enabled. Okay, and github.com dependency fetching during Oxy builds when you are using GitHub Actions, and aka.ms short links used in install script or for tooling purpose. I hope it is clear now. So again, your one like, one comment, one share, that all inspire us to create more such videos. And I will see you in the next video very soon. If you wanted me to cover any other topic related to this, just drop me in the comment box. I will try to cover in my next video. Till then, bye bye. Take care.